Sheila here with Sirius Dallas Moon and a little more about the Saturn Neptune or Saturn ingress to Aries ruling Pluto. And Mercury hour right now, previously was Venus hour. There seem to be, how should I say that? And it can even pertain to astrologers because, of course, Pluto is in Aquarius, Saturn ruling Pluto, but also to scientists. Saturn in Aries, I think, is going to be a lot about the democration question of science. Of course, we're having a scientific revolution. While we're having a scientific revolution, we're probably going to have a discussion about whether something is accepted as the new science or the new criteria, because people are going to ask themselves, what is scientific? And it pertains both to the ontological unit, and I think Neptune in Aries is a change of ontological unit, but it's also change of epistemic unit by the merit that Saturn that rules Pluto, and Pluto in the sign of science, is coming to try to restrict the methodology. Mars is how we do things, and with Saturn, how do we do science? So from that, there are many people that try to adhere to, first of all, they try to say, okay, I'm realistic, there are probably going to be regulations, they're probably going to need me to have a certification of something scientific to do something. No, this is going to be way more complicated because Aries is also innovative science. Okay? When I was working on my thesis, Back to the Future, and look at um, philosophy of medicine back then, it was in epistemic eyes, then I was looking at the body-mind question, and not that what is the truth of the ontological unit, but actually how do people infer it, or how do people come to see that? Because the body-mind question is both an ontological unit and epistemic question at the same time. Okay, do we know by channeling? Do we know by observing the world? Okay, and this is when I was talking about Da Vinci as the first modern empiricist. Um, so all of those things are going to go into practice and practices where people either are going to be required to have a certification, but at the time where a scientific revolution is happening. So a lot of people will also find, for example, in the 1990s, a lot of people came from Russia. They came as doctors, they came as physicians, they came as scientists, and they were working regular jobs, bus drivers, whatever they could find for work, because it's not the same teaching. Okay, I remember when I was in academia and I was studying linguistics, our department was worshiping the universal grammar hypothesis, and I got accepted to student exchange in an institution that was teaching semiotics. That would not be able to be accepted by my department, that could not fund for, okay, the Erasmus for me to go to the student exchange. So we're gonna be having a shit ton of those type of cases where both people are suddenly going to be required to have a certification in something that they weren't required, or that wasn't even acknowledged as a science before, and then they would be going out to do those certification processes. And I remind you that this war is about zero rape society, okay? I'm going to connect all the science to that. Um, just as we cannot rape a theory on a phenomena, here we need to understand what is the underlying factor. If the science is distributed in cloning farms that produce scientists and produce the people that would change the world, then we understand that it's going to yield something like dissociative identity disorder into the science endeavor. So entity vocation to whatever we do for a living. Um, Juxtaposed to the sex work is work, there was the Me Too, which basically symbolized my work should not include abuse. And it's not what was the normal. You can't have a certification in Epstein land. Okay? And but we are going to see it also through the practices. We're going to see it through people studied something for I don't know how many years, worked hard and so on, created a basis, created a dissertation, boom, there's completely different, okay, whether psychology, astrology, medicine, national security, intelligence, economy. We saw that in computer science during the when Neptune was ingressing to Aquarius. Okay, everybody who remembers studying Pascal? I was studying Pascal in high school. Anybody remembers that language? Okay, there was a language boom. We're studying Pascal, then Java, then C, then what was it, Python now, and now there is AI. So which interfaces work with AI? Okay, and so there are going to be a lot of new fields of science. When we make a talisman, do we make a talisman as an act of violence, turning that thing into what we will it to be, and binding the spirit to the thing, or do we connect with the spirit and create a union of whether fire or oil or okay, and we set in stone. And then the way in which we make talismans can be different, where some people would engrave into a stone, some people will melt clay and create pottery, some people will paint a picture. Renaissance. Okay, upon the 2060s, before the 2060s, we are 15 years away from the Renaissance. We're 15 years away from the Neptune ingress to Taurus, and Chiron's going to be with Rahu in between Cancer and Gemini. So Neptune is going to conjoin Aries, which I see as an onset of the Renaissance. I was one of the lucky children because when I was exposed to Leonardo da Vinci when I was in elementary school, then I was told that he was a scientist. A lot of people weren't told that he was a scientist even. And I understood who Leonardo da Vinci was very easy, and I was like, okay, I want to be like that. But then I found out that he was depressed, and I was like, okay, then I want to be happy and create from joy and love. So it's like Renaissance with the joy of creation. Um, Yeah, I don't have the technique of Da Vinci. I do have a lot of unfinished jobs. I think a lot of people can relate to Leonardo da Vinci in that particular fashion. Um, so, um, and there is also the funding for, okay, projects or new projects, the patronage question, because let's make it very clear. The creator, scientist, and artist will always piss off their funders. Also with entrepreneurship, you pay. Let's say you pay me money to do a new project. By the merit that this is a new consciousness, okay. Just like children piss off their parents because they touch on the core, they continue the rebellion of their parents, but from the point where the parents haven't gotten there yet. When you be, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm going to be just like my father. Your father was a rebellious person. So you're probably going to be just like your father in the sense that you will rebel also your father. Now, what was the issue with the patronage? People say it was not homosexuality, it was child molestation. It was Me Too, but between the young artist and the patron, the apprentice and the teacher. And okay, that was the Me Too. The Me Too when Uranus and Aries conjoined here in Aries, it was about my job, Mars, what I do for a living, okay, for life, survival. What I do for a living has to align with I am, with my sense of self. My job should not include, what I do for a living should not include abuse. When I go to work, I should not be abused. Not my mind, not my sex. Okay, Mars rules both. The sex and the head. Not my life energy. But that's already Uranus. If the certificate, now there are going to be both issues. Both the fact that the certification is going to require some sort of apprenticeship, and then if that includes rape, then the Me Too was how should I say that? The Me Too was one point in the globe. There's a very tiny dot. There's a small pixel in all the pixels that comprise this high-flying discosphere. Okay? Why? Because you say, oh, you got to get a certification. That you're telling me I need to be raped to be able to make a living. A sex work is work. Yeah, but I go to study some is not sex work. Well, if there is sex work, then that is also work. Yeah, I never agree with sex work is work to begin with. Yeah, what are you gonna do? You have to. I mean, you're not gonna make it. Boom. Gone bank, gone university, gone training, gone lodges, gone churches, gone Wailing Wall, gone underground of Wailing Wall, gone plane, gone everything. What happened? They raped. The anger, okay? The anger. What happened at the Me Too? Did people want to speak? Hell no. We didn't even think that there is a chance for life on Earth. And then it's like, okay, what happened? I think I wrote another post on Facebook. Okay, what was it? I can't look at it. You get it? I can't. You get it? Yeah, you're going to go write something bigger. What is? Oh, I feel relief. It was a Kundalini rise. That's what it was. What are you going to do for a living? Well, I don't know. I'm going to take a break from that academy. I'm not going to defend my thesis in front of all this pack of rapists. I mean, let's study, I don't know, aromatherapy. Something. Meanwhile, I'll do astrology. People expect massages. They don't want my hands on them. My hands on you, slit your throat. Is what they want. I don't have euthanasia. Okay, what swiped under the rug? How can I bring value to humanity that this is humanity? So what are you going to do for a living? A lot of people need to die so that there can be life. How are you going to do that? I don't know. I'm just saying it's just so. So, of course, it has an effect scientifically. You go to a therapist, the therapist is Epsteining. Then the big boom, the big explosions. Okay, it is physics. When you compress an atom to a certain point, it goes boom and there's big radiation. So do people. And we're going to see that on a vocational level. And they might try to restrict what one can do for a living, and all the excuses that they're going to bring are going to be really funny and dumbfounding. Okay, there was a person, maybe 90, not even, that was murdered by the so-called security. Everybody, and it was broadcasted as they found out what happened to him in 2021. He was jailed because he was going against the state security, and then he was found dead in his cell. All the comments were calling him out. Lo and behold, that guy was murdered. 19 years old boy murdered 2021. under the guise that he is against security of whatnot, um, did it prevent the 7th of October invasion? Did it prevent the war with Iran? Since 2021 to 2023 and 2025, okay, 7th October war with Iran, there were no chances to prevent. You want to tell me that that 19 years old kid did something that was, and then you see it what he did in the comments. He was finding out of what they were planning to do. He was so young that he didn't even get to rape girls in Thailand. Now those smug people were thinking that's not gonna come out. Of course it does come out. The whole point is to get them smug, then expose and dispose of them. That's the technique. That's extortion cult logic. Why, since the Epstein files opening after the subprime or during the subprime crisis? Yeah. No. Why, since then? No. לא עכשיו, I'm recording. עוד מעט, כן. Oh, okay. Why, since the Epstein exposure, the word for Pluto in Capricorn was gaslighting. Suddenly people found out what gaslighting was. There was a ritual abuse around Madeleine. Okay, I was speaking to a guy in Heidelberg. He went balloonies, I went balloonies. You go to a psychologist doesn't understand what we were talking about. Yeah, emotional blackmail is in every relationship, emotional blackmail. They were just speaking the truth. Maybe go see psychiatrist, I don't know. You go see psychiatrist. Yeah, take this pill. You take this pill, you feel weird things in the brain. And anyway, you want to analyze yourself, and then it's like, okay, I'd rather throw this down the drain because otherwise I'm gonna take that and it won't kill me. Then I have to deal with more dumb fuckery. Okay, that was 2008 logic. What happens? Spiritual warfare. What is spiritual warfare? They rape people using astral projection. Okay, but how are people even susceptible to that? They put people in all around trauma, so they become more susceptible to the psychic realm, and then they're susceptible to what they call spiritual warfare. So that would happen, I mean, yeah, but they were also trying to make you religious, remember? Me religious, yeah, I remember that. It was so fucking weird. That's a death cult. That's the Epsteins! It's always so lovely when disclosure arrives in elegant tone and true cohesion that nobody ever gets the ability to develop. But in spite the system. And then once they think they do, then something comes up and then they shut down for a second, remembering things. Happens to all of us. I remember when I said, oh, I seem to pretty much have healed before. Wait a second, before I was tortured again. But even when I thought, oh, well, I probably have healed and so on and so forth, my mother tells me, Shirley, when you are screaming at night, should I wake you up? I was like, what are you talking about? Said you're screaming at night. I had no idea. But I guess, yes. Because I thought I was completely healed from PTSD. Go find a housing for that in a building where everybody's like that. What do you think are going to happen to those buildings? They're going to boom. Who am I going to turn to? The political party which leader is sometimes kidnapped with his wife, supposedly because it's in their favor, and lives in a safety house which is a basement, relying on the police to police, which is quite flaky. Are they gonna help? Okay. Well, what if I manage to do something to prevent all types of assassinations, including political ones? You'll have to expose the connection to the Epstein ring. And the fact that you got persecuted because you didn't want to rape children. Googleplex people are going to have to speak, act, and do something about the fact that the scientific endeavor is right now practiced through people that are created by rape. And rape doesn't yield through cohesion, nor can it yield science. The paradoxes, yes, there are going to be many people with a certification that suddenly the entire profession is not practiced, or the entire profession is changing and the certification is no longer, okay, they just finished 13 years of studies, now they need to study something completely new. There are going to be people that did a certification in this country, now they move to that country, and that certification not accepted. Because they're studying, okay, like I gave the example with linguistics. You study semiotics and you study universal grammar, completely different departments that if they don't have an interface, it means that one academic institution will not accept the courses of the other academic institution on that basis. There's going to be innovative science, but it's going to be the question of will it stand the test of time, and there's going to be people that suddenly need to make certification for or training for things they didn't need to do before. Those particular things would really put people, it's kind of like push people to a corner, because for some it will be, oh, I have, whether it's learning disabilities. So it's like, okay, that can be accommodated, that can be accommodated. Well, I don't want to rape children. That cannot be accommodated. You can do everything But this, everybody must do. Oh, wait a second. If they didn't need to do that, that would improve upon the learning disabilities of many people. And this is, again, Aries favors Aries favor the speculation that is the speculation is going to test the test of time is the zero rate one. We cannot play with truth. And also by this time, whichever vocation a person is, they're probably there after rejecting a lot of pedo rings in other vocations. And I can say I studied aromatherapy for certification, first course, second course, 2 or 3 times. All of my things with the documents were in situation where I couldn't retrieve them. I mean, I can maybe retrieve from for the institution itself, but there wouldn't be a reason that those documents wouldn't be with me if they weren't trying to make me be in those pedo rings. Yes, I'm 41 years old woman. I don't think that my sexuality is that interesting on a big scale. Um, but they raped so that people will become traffickers, so that we will become Ghislaine Maxwell's and Epstein's. And so to siphon the creative energy. There was a time where I was tortured and I was forced to touch my behind and to touch a cream that I was making in my own house, and which exposed the fact that there were cameras there because there wouldn't be a reason to try to make me do that, so that I wouldn't be able to do anything with what I learned. Okay? Googleplex people are pushed to those corners. Now, normally, if I would have a setback in life, I would go into shadow work. Is it really what I want to do? Am I destined to actually do something bigger? Did I not ask for enough in life? Am I really, is my vision too small? When there were setbacks to, let's say, aromatherapy, then I learned how to make talismans. I'm not a private case. There are Googleplex people dealing with that, which is why something's going to cross the threshold of explosion. And with Saturn in Aries, there's something really funny because, again, it's going to be the science develops so quickly that the certification doesn't even mean anything um, a fraction of a millisecond after. The Aries, 0 degree Aries, the foundation of science is going to completely change. So people ask, okay, how are people going to live? Well, here is the thing, because everything was based on rape, and that's what this war is about. I don't have a clear answer to you. I do think that setting our mind to zero rape society, even beginning to envision what it is, okay? Even the fact that they use a device to rape the cows to bring um, babies so that they will have milk and so that the babies will be harvested. Um, Even that is rape based food. Whether we eat cows or not, okay, we began to eat cows because cows were predators and we managed to have them as our food. But is it still relevant to nowadays? Everything, if we are and we're also going to be overwhelmed by that everythingness. I was preparing salmon, and I have a Sedna talisman, so I was having half for me and half for Sedna. And before that, I felt like I was hungry, 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 hungry. So much so that it was difficult for me to share my meal with this Sedna talisman. Though I knew that later I would give it to my cat and so on and so forth. But then I did that, and something in me calmed down so much that I didn't even eat the soup with the salmon. I was just trying to sleep. Then I was dealing with those weird things that happen. And then when my cat came in, even before the salmon, she went for that soup that was left after the salmon. And I was so surprised how, from being extremely hungry, I went to being extremely calm. And all I really needed was that those are things that try to rape people wouldn't be there. So going from the point where I was thinking, I'm really hungry. Oh God, I'm so exhausted as well. I didn't prepare another fish, to not even eating, trying to sleep, but those rape things bothered.